The Working on Fire program has had a proud history in the 14 years of its existence. Many of you will remember the Super Bowl at Sun City in 2011 at the Wildfire Conference 2011. We filled that hall, we sang, and we impressed those delegates there with our 800 and odd firefighters singing and welcoming the world. Because what we had there was all the delegates who were engaged in wildland firefighting around the world coming to this conference. In fact, at that conference, Mr. Kim Connors, the Executive Director of the Canadian Interagency Firefighter Centre, was present, and that's in fact how Canada came about. Some of you would have been in Canada in 2015, and you'll remember that in fact the Canadians actually rated us very highly, because every day there you get scored in terms of your performance, and we came back as one of the top teams internationally from that event. Some of you may also have been at Tabanchu at our 10th anniversary, where we celebrated 10 years of the Working on Fire program. So we've got a long record of proud moments in Working on Fire. Of course, in 2016 we also went out with huge fanfare. We went to Canada. We went in a Boeing 777 jet, filled it up, 300 of us, and we came there and wowed the world when we arrived in Alberta. Of course, all of you know, of course, that didn't end as well. We came back a bit of a cloud over us. And of course, we are now busy rebuilding our image. The Working on Fire program, of course, is now regrouping. And we have decided to embark on a program of back to basics. And what do we mean by back to basics? We're really talking about bringing back the essence of what used to be the WOF program of old. And there are two components that I would like to convey to you. One is the issue of respect. Respect is something which was central and must be central to our program going forward. Look, we are well on the way to concluding our agreement with Canada. I leave on the 27th of June to meet up with the Canadians, and it will then simply be when they require us to be there. I think the lessons we've learned in the past is that our management preparation, as well as our firefighters, weren't properly prepared for some of the elements of our deployment. I think it's very important, the lesson that we learned out of Canada is that if people have any issue or grievance, they must raise it through our channels, right? We cannot simply want to toy when we're unhappy about anything. There is a way to raise it, and it will be addressed. But we can't raise it in a way that actually impacts on the name of our company. Because as I said before, this name of the company is what you're going to put on your CV. Yeah. No? This is what you're going to have as part of your experience. You have to understand that WOF is part of you. Respect is treating everyone as you would like to be treated yourself. This is very important, you know, in terms of our values in our organization. We have very big demands on our firefighters, on our management. But at the bottom of it all must be respect for every human being. We are all human beings. And we all have a right to expect to be treated with respect. But the other side of the coin is discipline. We cannot have discipline without respect, and we cannot have respect without discipline. You know, in firefighting, it's absolutely essential that we have discipline. We cannot negotiate on that. When a crew leader says to his crew, we need to run, we can't have people saying, why, where to, you know. It is obviously a discipline which we are trained into and which we have to adhere to. On the fire line, it has to be absolute. Obviously, when we come back to our base and we're busy talking, we have an opportunity to in fact, explain a particular command. But the discipline is really a thing about life and death. So those two components of our program, we need to bring back. Respect and discipline. That is going to be the central hallmarks of the Working on Fire program going forward. We're going to regain the ground we've lost. We're going to regain the glory we've had in terms of the Working on Fire program. Some of the changes that have been brought into the program recently have not in fact produced the desired results. We are going back to the way we used to work in the past. In particular, in the fire season, we're going to go back to working on 7-day routine in which we are on standby over the weekends, and that's going to happen for 5 months. And then when we go back to the rest of the year for the 7 months, we'll be working 5 days. This is quite important in terms of us being able to provide the services that we have in the past on a predictable and reliable manner. I would just like to explain a bit what's happened around the whole aftermath of Canada 2016. You're aware that we did start an investigation that were headed by 2 advocates. They interviewed many firefighters, also the management of that particular deployment, and produced a report and recommendations to the board, and the board has in fact acted on that. And of course we would like to put Canada behind us. One of the things that we've done is, on the basis of the evidence presented by the firefighters, we've found certain behavior that the firefighters engaged in at Canada, at the Wapasu base, when Kim Connors addressed them, as being unacceptable. And we've written to all our participants and said, look, here is what the report says, this is what you people told the advocates, and we find it unacceptable. You need to tell us whether you were involved at all in this particular behavior, because we do believe that we cannot allow such behavior to go unchallenged. We've also had very good meetings with the Canadians here in Nelspruit. And in fact, at that meeting, some of the strike team leaders handed over a token and a letter of apology to Mr. Connors for the way that the conduct at the Wapasu base when he addressed the firefighters. And we've had ongoing meetings between government and the Canadians, and I'm actually going off to Canada at the end of June to in fact finalize arrangements, and hopefully in the future, if there is a need, we will be able to in fact go to Canada in the future again. Obviously the changes which we brought about in the Working on Fire program, we now have myself, I've come back as Managing Director, as well as Piet van der Merwe, an ex-MD who's also come aboard the new team. Lots of firefighters are asking lots of questions, and we are trying to set up a system where we're able to respond to specific queries. And I think we would encourage all our firefighters to raise the kind of questions they have so they can raise it. But I should indicate, in as much as I am willing and open to try and respond to each and every query, we need to get our management in our provinces functioning properly. And I should apologize on behalf of the top management of WOF. In the past, we've also put them in very, very conflicting situations. We've had situations where one day they're offering you one contract, the next day they're changing it to something else. Now, obviously, that is very problematic, and it's actually undermined our management. So also part of this back to basics is to get our management in the provinces to play the proper leadership, proper role in terms of managing the program at the provincial level. It's not something that can be managed from the center, cannot be managed by one person. Even at the top, it's not going to be simply the MD. We have an executive committee which in fact will be playing the role of managing and steering this company going into the future.
My question is that the overtime from Leisner, where we were going to fight fire, the team deployed from Gauteng to fight fire at Leisner. The overtime, they will be paid in monetary value, or it will be overtime?
The ministerial determination affecting all EPWP programs is very clear, is that we cannot pay overtime. And what we do is that for all work that's more than 8 hours, you bank it and you're able to get paid time off. Okay? So that's a very specific limitation on EPWP programs. It's in the ministerial determination. We're not able to apply overtime rates.
Well, Mr. I just want to ask, what is it that determines our increase? Because our graduates, their increase is 2 rands, and our increase is 6%. There is no way that maybe it could be 10% or something.
Okay. In the expanded public works program, all the budget determination happens from government. Okay? We get a set amount from government for the program, and in turn they also specify what the increase for every level of payment. So it's not something that we as management have any say on. It is something that government defines, and it defines it across all the EPWP programs. Okay? So it's something that's given to us. Now, just to give you an idea of how tight things have become, if you look at the whole budget from last year to the budget of this year, the increase has only been 1%. Okay? But when you look at the wages and the salaries, they've all gone up by 6%. So you can imagine if the cake is only going up by 1%, but some of the slices are going up by 6%, there's a squeeze on other areas, you know, in terms of how do we fit in, because we don't have more money. We're given a particular budget, and that's what we have to work at. But essentially, the rate of increase is something that's determined by government. And that is something that's not only just for working on fire, it applies to all the EPWP programs. Because the budget is fixed by government and the levels of payments fixed by government, that determines how many people we can increase. So if government were to be convinced that they must go higher in the increase, what is going to happen at the team, if you've got 25 people in your team, you can only be able to employ maybe say 17 or 18 if you're going to give increase, because there's no more money that you can get. So if you want to give more money to one, you have to take it from someone else. The Working on Fire program is one of the most expensive expanded public works programs. Why? Because we also provide PPE for people to wear up to 7 days a week during the fire season. We provide training. We provide transport in terms of all the fleet that we have to pay out of our budget. So when government looks at it, we are one of the most expensive EPWP programs. Also, the lowest level pay in the Working on Fire program is in fact much higher than the floor for all EPWP. Why? Because they recognize that all our firefighters go through at least a 25-day training program, and they have some rudimentary skills that are acquired. So the rate that we have as our bottom level for our firefighter is in fact higher than anything in the EPWP programs all around the country.
Yes, speaking of skills, why there is no increment on skills, like it's always 2 rands? Can we get maybe an increment on skills, or I don't know?
Yeah. Look, what we do is, in terms of the increment for skills, if the bottom level is 102, then you get 2 rand extra, okay, for the particular skill sets that we have. So as the bottom goes up, you get above that. And here again, we've managed to convince government that we are training people that have specific skills that must be recognized by 2 rand a day, okay. If we were to increase it by more, if they were to allow us to increase it by more, it would mean simply less people.